So, time for the box office. At UK number 10 and US not charted, it's One Fine Morning.
Yes, and full of extremely good sex.
Lovely
I would
sex.
say, yes.
The best sex.
Lovely sex. Isn't it nice? Yes, this is actually Mia Hansen-Løve's highest grossing film in the UK now, which is incredibly satisfying.
Oh, awesome.
She's such a, goodness, she has many critical fans in the UK, of which I am one. I absolutely loved it. I think the way in which it, exactly as you and Anna were saying last week, the way in which it intermingles all these strands of life and says, life doesn't unfold in clean narratives. You can have this terrible, sad stuff going on with your parent on one side and then this incredibly thrilling love affair on the other side. And these things run into each other in awkward ways. Of course, the great irony of it is that Mia Hansen-Løve's script for this actually makes these work beautifully in tandem. And there's such kind of elegance in which it's put together. So yes, I'm delighted it's done as well as it has. I would urge anyone who is, remotely considering seeing it to see it in the cinema. It's so good.
We actually have an email. They've said, I had the pleasure of seeing One Fine Morning at the weekend, and while I'm sure there'll be plenty of people who can sadly identify with the story on a deeply personal level, I thought I'd share why it resonated with me quite so much. It's coming up to 2 years since I lost my mum to Lewy body dementia, a hideous disease that saw her bedridden and barely recognisable after 3 years of heartbreaking decline. Going through the painful, gradual loss and subsequent grief, I've often thought about how being a single mid-30s female came to shape so much of my experience. So to see that play out on screen so precisely by a phenomenal Lea Seydoux helped me feel validated and seen, things which I feel define the story of Sandra too. Like her, I landed in a whole world of messy relationships throughout this chapter of my life, so seeing her choose the unavailable and non-committal man made perfect sense to me. It's a connection fueled by the purest of desire, the only antidote to the feeling of invisibility that overwhelms you when your fading person becomes the centre of your universe, and as the nurse in the home makes quite clear, your feelings don't factor anymore. It also struck me as a smart choice to make Sandra a translator, someone without any real identity of their own, just a useful conduit whose sole purpose is to make sense of things for other people.
I love that. That didn't occur to me. That's spot on.
It's it's a really astute observation. The burden of responsibility that comes with caring for someone pushes your own needs so far away that you do end up losing your own voice. But in contrast, when Sandra receives messages from Clement, we see her glow so brightly that her reflection in bus windows makes her look twice the person she felt moments before. This, for me, epitomises the trauma of going through an experience like this. It was only after my mum had died that I realised just how deep I was in the place that we see Sandra in, and how hard I've worked to return back to the world and to myself. I'd like to say thank you to Mia Hansen-Løve for creating such an important film, and I hope other people take comfort from the validation it brings. Thanks, and H2GI, Lucy Sanderson. Thank you, Lucy.
Great email.
That was beautiful. Really, really lovely. And also, like I say, I feel like maybe you should come and sub one week, because that was gorgeous. Moving on to a very different film.
From the Sublime to the Shazam.
UK number 9, US number 15. As Robbie says, it is Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
Yes, it's twaddle, isn't it? And I like the first one. I thought the first one was very fun.
Yeah, the first one was really fun.
Yeah, there's this great moment at the end because of, behind the scenes, all these machinations of what's going to happen next with the DC franchise, and is Shazam going to be in it or is he not? Yeah. And I love that at the end of this, two of the James Gunn characters from Peacemaker kind of rock up and see this buffoon, doing his thing in some kind of cabin in the forest. And they're like, should we have this guy on a team? Nah. Who could disagree?
UK number 8, US not charted. It's Mummies, which I guess did really well for Easter.
Yeah, it actually went up by 59% week on week because of the Easter holidays. And because, with one notable exception, which we will come to, there's nothing else for children in cinemas. The last children's film released, major children's film released, was Puss in Boots back in February, which is disgusting. What are we doing when things are months apart like that? But yes, that's why it's done well.
And then at number 7, UK number 7, US number 2, it's The Pope's Exorcist, Russell Crowe doing his thing.
Yeah, I'm very sad they didn't screen this for critics and I've not had a chance to catch up with it yet. I want to shout out the headline on the Telegraph Review, which was written by my colleague Tim Roby. The headline, I don't know who did the headline, but whoever in the office deserves a massive pay rise. Who are you going to call Crowe's pastor? Come on.
Yeah, it's good.
That's an all-timer.
That's really good. UK number 6, US number 7, it's Suzume.
Yeah, which made 469,000 in its opening weekend. That's a massive result for anime. And it shows that there's a core audience for anime in the UK that is being nurtured and can be nurtured more, which is really exciting.
UK number 5 and US number 4, it's Renfield, which I had a great time with. Anna last week did not. And we do have an email from Darren Leithley who said, I went to see Renfield on Friday night, only one of a handful in the cinema. The lights weren't turned down for the main feature, which minimally impacted what I got from a bloody, silly film. Nicholas Holt's I sort of feel like you should have maybe gone and told them that the lights, that the lights were on and go and, do go and kick up a fuss about that kind of thing. Nicholas Holt's title character seemed to be channeling Hugh Grant's 90s roles. This is what I said. I said exactly this, that he was just being Hugh Grant as a bumbling, mumbling, sotto voce, sweary Englishman, not quite reconciled with the circumstances in which he finds himself. Nicolas Cage's Dracula is without doubt the best thing in the film, arguably stronger in the scenes where the vampire is at his weakest, looking every one of his many undead centuries, but still biting with words. The action scenes are ridiculously over the top, their cartoonish quality reinforced by all too obviously CGI splatter. Unfortunately, the police comedy connective tissue between the gonzo bloodlettings doesn't match, with several plot threads feeling quite anemic, despite the short running time. I see what you did there. It's a nice idea to try a new way to adapt a well-worn story, and the film doesn't overstay its welcome, yet it neatly illustrates why no adaptation has previously focused on Dracula's dog's body rather than the Count himself. One thing I did like in its favour, the end credits were very nicely rendered, not once simply being a scrolling list of white text on a black background. Thank you, Darren, from Dublin. I'm just relieved that Jonathan wasn't in it, because Jonathan Harker?
Yes, the Keanu Reeves character.
Well, Bram Stoker. Oh, I hate the character of Jonathan so much. He's the absolute pits. He's an unreliable, dull narrator, and any film without him in is a better film.
Good. Okay.
UK number 4, US number 5, it's Air, which I've not seen.
Yeah, look, I'm kind of with Mark on this, and it is fundamentally a film about a shoe. But I'm glad that it's doing as well as it is, because it shows that there is a enthusiastic market for this kind of star-driven, accessible, studio-made drama. Mm-hmm. I think it's the ultimate dad film. It's unapologetically the ultimate dad film. There is a sequence in this where it shows Matt Damon. We know it's about the creation of the Air Jordan shoe. We don't need to go through the plot.
Yeah.
So Matt Damon is the sports agent who's trying to bring Michael Jordan on board with Nike to be the face of this new shoe. And so when he's driving up to see the family, there is a sequence in the film in which he kind of pulls off this flawless overtake on the motorway, soundtrack to Big Country. Mm-hmm. And it's just delighting in how great that maneuver is pulled off. And the film kind of takes time to do that. Every dad in the audience going, yeah, this is it. We feel seen. So, yes.
If you say so.
If that craft had been applied to a less kind of cynically corporate story, yeah, I would have probably loved this. I just kind of cannot get past the fact it's about, seeing this sportswear conglomerate win, which is a little bit kind of... Ugh.
It should be the other way around, right? This is what we're used to now, more with indie filmmaking.
Yes,
it's about the little guy. UK number 3 and US number 3 is John Wick Chapter 4.
Doing miraculously well. It's wonderful. 4 weeks, 14.9 million. The more I sit with this film, the more I love it. I think it's probably the best of the 4 for me.
Interesting. UK number 2, US number 6. Again, this is kind of preteen aimed, right? Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves.
I think it's everyone aimed, right? Yeah. I mean, I
sorry, preteen and up. I was like, yeah.
Yes. I mean, my kids are sort of 8 and 9 years old. They're kind of on the borderline of seeing this. I'd probably take them to see it, I think. It's been out for 3 weeks. It's made more than £10 million. A really small 27% drop week on week, which is impressive. I think probably because the other big release, which we're about to come to, doesn't necessarily, it skews much younger. I thought this was delightful. I thought it was really good fun. And one thing it captures, so as a sometime Dungeons and Dragons player, although not for many years, it really captures that fun dichotomy between the kind of grand, fantastical pomp of the Dungeons and Dragons world. So, these kind of amazing glaciers and mountains and castles and what have you. And also the fact that to play the game is to mess around with friends for a couple of hours. And so that kind of game night chemistry between the main cast, which was really, whoever hired the game night people to make this film made an incredibly smart choice. That's what playing D&D is like. And for it to have pinned that down, but in a very, very accessible kind of non-fan servicey way, I think is kind of the magic formula here.
And Robbie has been teasing this quite a lot. At number 1 in the UK and the US, you have guessed it, it's the Super Mario Bros. Movie.
It's not the Super Mario Bros. Movie, it's the Super Mario Brothers movie.
It's Bros.
It's not Bros.
It's literally Bros on the poster.
Super Mario Brothers movie.
It is Bros, right?
Which has been out for 2 weeks and has made £35.8 million in 2 weeks.
It's absolutely incredible. Who saw this coming?
Of which £30 very resentfully is mine. I mean, these are ludicrous numbers. Ludicrous. I mean, even allowing for the fact that Mario is incredibly popular across at least 2 generations.
Yeah.
Right? People my age grew up playing on the NES, the Super Nintendo, everything, through to my kids who now love playing Mario games on the Switch.
I had an advanced Game Boy.
Right.
Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, the kind of oblong one.
Yeah, the sort of
sideways
see-through
oblong
one, yeah.
So, yes. So Mario's a very popular franchise. There is nothing else for kids since Puss in Boots, with the exception of Mummies and like one other thing. It's the Easter holidays, okay? Even despite all of these things, I think that's an enormous sum of money. Does it mean that Hollywood's cracked the video game movie? Probably not yet decisively, because Mario is such a kind of peculiar thing to itself. But look, I mean, it's credit to them. It's done incredible. The thing is, it's vacuous slop is what it is. It's absolute rubbish.
I think the second one's going to be better. I think now that they've laid, I think they've kind of laid this groundwork, and I think I actually quite enjoyed it.
The problem is, people are saying that, the kids like it, so therefore it's good, and it does the job. Kids like all sorts of rubbish. I mean, mine would sit in front of Minecraft YouTubers for hours on end. That does not mean the Minecraft YouTuber is a great work of art that has somehow kind of miraculously connected with the kid's psyche. It's just that it's pandering twaddle, and that's exactly what the film is. It's just showing kind of stuff that might happen in a Mario game, or that has happened in Mario games. I mean, they dramatize the vehicle selection menu for Mario Kart 8. That's a scene in the film. And when I was watching it with my kids, certainly wasn't watching the film again, I was watching how they were reacting to it.
Yeah.
And they enjoyed it, but the way in which they enjoyed it was pointing at stuff and nudging each other and saying, oh, look, this is from this and this is from that.
Yeah. It's an Easter egg film.
So look, it's nothing but Easter eggs. And that annoys me massively.
We have an email, actually.
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
We have an email from James saying, ironic that the Super Mario Bros. Movie was released for Easter weekend, as it's basically a film full of Easter eggs. See, I was trying to work out if that is irony or not. But seeing as Mario is one of the most iconic characters in video game history, it would have been nice if the makers afforded him the courtesy of a script. The movie felt like it was directed by accountants from a screenplay generated by an AI. The games have an addictive gameplay and immerse us in surreal worlds that the player never questions. In the movie, hearing Mario say things like, "Ooh, why are these blocks floating?" seems to run counter to this.
And does anyone say, no, they don't? So why raise it?
However, Mark's citation of the Lego Movie is a good point. If this film was to be genuinely inventive, it should have tapped into the quirky and eccentric. Occasionally, about 3 times, there were flashes of what the movie could have been, such as Bowser channeling Elton John and the nihilistic star. But as soon as that star, was it a star? The one that was in a cage.
The Lumo from Mario Galaxy.
Yeah. Oh my God, I loved that so much. Robbie looked very disappointed. As soon as these moments begun, they ended, and we returned to a checklist of characters and moments from the games. Significantly worse than the fine Sonic 1 film, but I'm sure it will finish in the top 5 highest grossing films of the year.
Unquestionably, yes.
Undoubtedly it will. That's from James, the nihilistic star, dimly shining above Basingstoke.
Yes, I mean, look, Sonic 1 is dreadful, but Mario makes it look like the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, but the thing is, I suspect Nintendo were having been burned by the first version of the Super Mario Brothers film from the 90s, the creative control was just absolute. And it's like, you may not do anything that is not in the games. And that's why the film is like, because, it's directed by the Teen Titans people, and who are hilarious.
We've dedicated 10 minutes of talking about it. So.
Isn't it just, it's awful. Okay, move on.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's Take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.